Sarah Mitchell stood outside the big white house and took a deep breath. The morning sun was shining bright and everything looked perfect. The grass was cut nicely and flowers grew in neat rows along the path. This was her new job. She was going to be a nanny for 2 little girls. Sarah had worked with children for 15 years. She loved taking care of kids and making them happy. The front door opened before Sarah could knock. A tall man in an expensive suit smiled at her. He had dark hair with some gray on the sides and bright blue eyes. "You must be Sarah. Welcome." "I am David Henderson," he said, shaking her hand firmly. His grip was strong, maybe too strong. "Please come inside. We are so happy you are here." Sarah walked into the house. Everything inside looked even more beautiful than the outside. The floors were shiny wood. The furniture looked new and expensive. Pictures hung on the walls in gold frames. This family had money. That was clear. "My wife, Linda, works at the hospital," David explained as he showed Sarah around. "She is an administrator there. Very important job. She works long hours, sometimes even nights. That is why we need someone like you. Someone reliable to take care of our precious daughters." Sarah nodded. She understood. Many families needed help when both parents worked hard jobs. "The girls are upstairs," David said. "Emma is 7 years old and Sophie just turned 5. They are good girls. Very well behaved. They will not give you any trouble." As they climbed the stairs, Sarah noticed how quiet the house was. Most houses with young children had noise. Laughing, running, playing. But this house felt silent. Almost too silent. David knocked on a bedroom door. "Girls, come meet Sarah. She will be taking care of you." The door opened slowly. 2 little girls stood there. Emma was taller with long brown hair tied in a neat ponytail. Sophie was smaller with blonde curls. Both wore pretty dresses that looked freshly ironed. Both stood very straight with their hands folded in front of them. "Hello," Emma said quietly, looking at the floor. "Hi," Sophie whispered, also not looking up. Sarah smiled warmly. "Hello, Emma. Hello, Sophie. I am very happy to meet you both. We are going to have so much fun together." The girls did not smile back. They just nodded slightly. David patted Emma on the head. Sarah noticed the girl went stiff when he touched her. "Be good for Sarah," he said. Then he looked at his watch. "I need to go to work now. Sarah, your room is at the end of the hall. The girls will show you everything. If you need anything, call me." He handed her a business card. After David left, the house felt different. The air seemed less heavy. Sarah sat down on the floor to be at the same level as the girls. "So, what do you like to do for fun?" she asked with a warm smile. Emma and Sophie looked at each other. They seemed confused by the question. "We like to read," Emma finally said. "Quietly. We must be quiet," Sophie added. "Daddy needs quiet when he comes home." Sarah found this strange. Children were not supposed to be quiet all the time. They were supposed to play and laugh and make noise. That was what healthy children did. "Well, when it is just us 3, we can be a little noisy if we want," Sarah said gently. "Would you like to play a game?" The girls looked scared. "We do not want to get in trouble," Emma said. "You will not get in trouble with me," Sarah promised. "I am here to make sure you have fun and feel safe." But the girls still seemed nervous. They showed Sarah around the house, speaking in whispers. Their rooms were neat and clean. Too neat for children. The toys on the shelves looked like they were never touched. Everything was in perfect order. During the first week, Sarah watched the girls carefully. She had taken care of many children before. She knew how kids normally acted. Emma and Sophie were different. They were too perfect, too obedient, too quiet. They never fought with each other like sisters usually did. They never complained about food. They never asked for anything. When Sarah said it was bedtime, they went immediately without any fussing. Most children did not like bedtime. They wanted to stay up and play more, but not these girls. Sarah also noticed other things. The girls jumped when doors closed loudly. They did not like to be touched, even gentle hugs. When Sarah tried to brush Sophie's hair, the little girl started crying and pulling away. "I am sorry, sweetheart," Sarah said softly. "I will be more gentle." "It is not that," Sophie whispered. I do not like people touching my hair." Emma was quiet most of the time, but sometimes Sarah heard her crying in the bathroom. When Sarah knocked and asked if she was okay, Emma would quickly wash her face and say everything was fine. But her eyes were red and puffy. The girls also had strange habits. They checked the locks on their bedroom doors every night. They asked Sarah many times what time their father would come home. When David's car pulled into the driveway in the evening, both girls would stop whatever they were doing. Their bodies would go tense. The smiles would disappear from their faces. One evening, Sarah was helping the girls with their homework at the kitchen table. They heard the front door open. David called out, "I am home!" Sophie's hand started shaking. She dropped her pencil. Emma's face went pale. "Hello, Daddy?" they both said together, their voices flat. David came into the kitchen, loosening his tie. "How are my princesses today?" he asked, but something about his tone made Sarah uncomfortable. It sounded too sweet, too fake. "We are good, Daddy," Emma answered, staring at her homework. "That is what I like to hear," David said. He looked at Sarah. "How were they today?" "They were wonderful," Sarah said honestly. "Very good girls?" "Of course they are," David said, putting his hand on Emma's shoulder. The little girl went completely still, like a statue. "They know how to behave." "Right, Emma?" Emma nodded without speaking. That night after dinner, Sarah heard Sophie crying in her room. She went to check on her. Sophie was sitting on her bed, hugging her knees to her chest. "What is wrong, honey?" Sarah asked, sitting beside her. Sophie looked up with tears running down her face. "My tummy hurts," she said. "Did you eat something bad?" Sarah asked with concern. Sophie shook her head. "It always hurts," she whispered. "Especially when Daddy is home." Sarah felt something cold run through her body. This was not normal. Children did not get stomach aches just because their father was home, unless they were afraid, unless something was very wrong. "Why does your tummy hurt when Daddy is home?" Sarah asked carefully, but Sophie would not answer. She just cried harder and asked Sarah to stay with her until she fell asleep. Sarah sat with the little girl, stroking her back gently until she finally drifted off. But Sarah could not sleep that night. Her mind was racing. Something was wrong in this house. Something was hurting these children, and Sarah was determined to find out what it was. She had worked with many families before. She had seen children who were sad, children who were spoiled, children who were lonely. But she had never seen children who were this scared in their own home. This was different. This was dangerous. Sarah made a decision that night. She would watch everything carefully. She would protect these girls. Whatever was happening here, she would find out, and she would stop it, because that was her job. Not just to feed and bathe and play with children, but to keep them safe, no matter what. Sarah had been working at the Henderson house for 3 weeks now. Every day she learned something new about Emma and Sophie, and every day she became more worried. The girls were not acting like normal children. They were scared all the time. In the mornings, when David left for work, the girls would relax a little. Their shoulders would drop. They would speak in normal voices instead of whispers. Sometimes Sarah even heard them laugh when they played together. But those happy moments never lasted long. By afternoon, they would start watching the clock, waiting, worrying about when their father would come home. Sarah started writing things down in a small notebook. She kept it hidden in her room. She wrote down everything strange she saw. The times Emma cried, the times Sophie said her stomach hurt, the way both girls flinched when David touched them. Sarah knew these details might be important later. One Tuesday afternoon, Sarah was folding laundry in the hallway. The bathroom door was closed, but she could hear Emma inside. The little girl was crying softly. Sarah knocked gently on the door. "Emma, sweetie, are you okay?" Sarah asked. There was silence for a moment. Then Emma said in a shaky voice, "I am fine. I will be out soon." But Sarah heard something in Emma's voice that made her heart hurt. It was the sound of someone trying very hard to be brave when they were actually very scared. "Can I come in, honey?" Sarah asked. "I just want to make sure you are all right." The door unlocked slowly. Emma stood there with red eyes and wet cheeks. She had been crying hard. Sarah kneeled down to be at Emma's level. "What happened?" "You can tell me. I promise I will not be angry." Emma looked at the floor. Her hands were shaking. "I cannot tell you," she whispered. "It is a secret." Some secrets are okay to tell, Sarah said gently. Especially if the secret makes you sad or scared. Emma's bottom lip trembled. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. But then she closed it again and shook her head. Daddy said it would not pain, she whispered so quietly that Sarah almost did not hear it. But it does. It hurts so much. Sarah felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. What hurts, Emma? Did you get hurt somewhere? But Emma just shook her head and ran to her bedroom. Sarah heard the door lock from inside. That night, Sarah could not stop thinking about Emma's words. What did David tell her would not hurt? Why was Emma so scared to talk about it? Sarah had a terrible feeling growing in her chest. She had worked with children long enough to know the signs of abuse. And everything she saw in this house was pointing to something very wrong. The next day was Wednesday. Linda Henderson came home early from work. Sarah had only met Linda a few times. The woman was always tired, always busy. She loved her daughters, but she was never home enough to really see them. How are the girls doing? Linda asked Sarah as she took off her coat. They are good, Sarah said carefully. She wanted to tell Linda everything, but she did not have proof yet, and she was afraid Linda might not believe her. Mrs. Henderson, can I ask you something? Of course, Linda said, checking her phone. Have Emma and Sophie always been so quiet? So nervous? Linda looked up from her phone. What do you mean? They just seem very scared sometimes, Sarah explained, especially around bedtime. And they do not like to be touched very much. Linda sighed. They are just shy girls. David says they need to learn discipline. He is strict with them, but that is because he wants them to grow up well. Sarah wanted to say more, but Linda's phone rang. She answered it and walked away, already back to work mode. Sarah realized that Linda did not see what was happening. She was too busy, too tired, too trusting of her husband. That evening, Sarah was helping Sophie get ready for her bath. When Sophie took off her shirt, Sarah saw something that made her blood run cold. There were bruises on Sophie's back. Small ones like fingerprints, and there were more bruises on her upper arms. Sophie, Sarah said, trying to keep her voice calm. How did you get these bruises? Sophie looked scared. I fell down, she said quickly. I am clumsy, but Sarah knew these were not bruises from falling. These were bruises from being grabbed, from being held too tight, from being hurt by someone bigger and stronger. Did someone grab you? Sarah asked gently. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. She started shaking her head over and over. No, I fell. I promise I fell. Please do not tell Daddy I showed you. Please. The fear in Sophie's voice broke Sarah's heart. I will not tell him, Sarah promised. But Sophie, if someone is hurting you, you need to tell me. I can help you. Sophie started crying. Nobody can help, she sobbed. Daddy said it is our special secret. He said if we tell anyone, bad things will happen. He said nobody would believe us anyway because we are just little girls. Sarah pulled Sophie into a gentle hug. The little girl cried into her shoulder. I believe you, Sarah whispered. And I will help you. I promise. After Sophie's bath, Sarah took pictures of the bruises with her phone. Her hands were shaking as she did it. She felt angry and sad and scared all at the same time. These beautiful little girls were being hurt in their own home, by their own father, the man who was supposed to protect them. Sarah went to Emma's room next. She needed to check if Emma had bruises too. Emma was reading a book on her bed. Emma, can I talk to you for a minute? Sarah asked. Emma looked up. She could tell something was different about Sarah. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart. You are not in trouble at all, Sarah said. She sat on the bed next to Emma. I saw some bruises on Sophie today. I'm worried about both of you. Emma, does your daddy hurt you? Emma's face went white. The book fell from her hands. I cannot talk about it, she whispered. He will know. He always knows. He will not know, Sarah said firmly. I will keep you safe. But I need to know the truth. Has your daddy been touching you in ways that make you uncomfortable? Emma started crying silently. Tears ran down her face, but she did not make any sound. It was like she had learned to cry without making noise. That thought made Sarah even more sad. He comes to our rooms at night, Emma finally said in a tiny voice. When Mommy works late. He says it is our special time together. He says daddies and daughters do this. He says it would not pain if we just stay still and quiet. Sarah felt sick. She wanted to cry. She wanted to scream. But she knew she had to stay calm for Emma. "Can you show me where he touches you?" Emma pointed to her private areas. She could not say the words out loud. She was only 7 years old. Sarah pulled Emma close. "Listen to me carefully," she said. "What your daddy is doing is very wrong. It is not normal. Good daddies do not do these things. You and Sophie did nothing wrong. Do you understand? This is not your fault," Emma sobbed into Sarah's shoulder. "I wanted to tell Mommy, but Daddy said she would not believe me. He said she would think I was lying." "I believe you," Sarah said. "And I'm going to stop this. I'm going to make sure you and Sophie are safe." That night, after the girls were asleep, Sarah sat in her room. She looked at the pictures of the bruises on her phone. She read through all the notes she had written in her notebook. She had enough now. She had evidence. She had the girls' words. She had seen the fear in their eyes. Sarah knew what she had to do. Tomorrow she would call the police. But tonight she would stay awake. She would make sure David did not go near those girls' rooms. She pulled a chair into the hallway between the girls' bedrooms and sat down. She would protect them, whatever it took. Sarah woke up in the chair outside the girls' bedrooms. Her neck hurt from sleeping sitting up. The sun was just coming up. She checked her watch. It was 6 in the morning. She had stayed there all night, and David had not tried to go into the girls' rooms. Maybe he knew she was watching. Maybe he was being careful. Sarah stood up and stretched. Her whole body ached, but she did not care. The girls were safe. That was all that mattered. She went to her room and got her phone. She had to call someone. She had to get help. But who should she call first? Sarah remembered her sister Jessica. Jessica worked as a social worker. She helped families and children who were in trouble. Jessica would know what to do. Sarah dialed her sister's number. Her hands were shaking as she waited for Jessica to answer. "Hello?" Jessica's sleepy voice came through the phone. "Jess, it is me, Sarah. I need your help," Sarah said quietly. She did not want anyone in the house to hear her. "Sarah? What is wrong?" "It is so early," Jessica said. Sarah could hear her sister waking up, becoming alert. "I am working as a nanny for a family. 2 little girls. Jess, I think their father is hurting them. I think he is abusing them," Sarah said. Her voice cracked as she said the words out loud. There was silence on the phone for a moment. Then Jessica spoke in a serious voice. "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." Sarah told her sister everything. The way the girls acted, the bruises she found, the things Emma and Sophie had said, the way they were terrified of their own father. Jessica listened without interrupting. When Sarah finished, Jessica said, "Sarah, you need to call the police right now. And you need to document everything. Take pictures of any bruises. Write down exactly what the girls told you. Keep the children safe until help arrives." "But what if nobody believes me?" Sarah asked. "He is a lawyer. He is rich and important. I am just a nanny." "That does not matter," Jessica said firmly. "The evidence matters. The children's words matter. You have both. Call the police. Do it now. And Sarah, be careful. If he knows you suspect him, he might do something dangerous." After hanging up with Jessica, Sarah felt more sure of what to do. But she wanted to gather more evidence first. She needed to be absolutely certain before she called the police. If she was wrong, she would lose her job and the girls would be left alone. But if she was right and did nothing, the girls would keep suffering. Sarah decided to talk to the girls again. She needed to hear their full story. She needed them to be clear about what was happening. That afternoon, when David was at work, Sarah sat down with Emma and Sophie in the playroom. "Girls, I need to ask you some important questions," Sarah said gently. "I know this is hard to talk about, but I need you to be very honest with me. Can you do that?" Both girls looked scared, but they nodded. "Does your daddy come into your rooms at night when your mommy is not home?" Sarah asked. Emma and Sophie looked at each other. Then Emma nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "What does he do when he comes to your room?" Sarah asked softly. Sophie started crying. Emma put her arm around her little sister. "He touches us," Emma said. Her voice was so quiet Sarah had to lean closer to hear. "He touches us in our private places. He says it is okay. He says all daddies do this with their daughters. He makes us touch him too," Sophie added through her tears. "And he tells us we have to keep it secret. He says if we tell, Mommy will go away and we will be all alone. Sarah felt tears in her own eyes. She wanted to cry for these brave little girls, but she had to stay strong for them. "How long has this been happening?" she asked. "Since I was 5, Emma said. Sophie was only 3 when it started for her." Sarah felt like she could not breathe. This had been going on for years. These poor children had been suffering for years, and nobody had known. Nobody had protected them. "One more question," Sarah said. "Does he ever hurt you in other ways?" "Does he hit you?" Emma nodded. "Sometimes. If we cry too much or if we try to say no, he grabs us hard. He says we have to be good girls and do what Daddy says." That explained the bruises. Sarah had seen enough. She had heard enough. She took out her phone and opened the voice recording app. "Girls, I need you to tell me again what your daddy does. But this time I am going to record it on my phone. Is that okay?" The girls looked nervous. "Why?" Sophie asked. "Because I am going to make sure your daddy never hurts you again," Sarah said. "But to do that, I need proof. I need people to hear you tell the truth." Emma took a deep breath. "Okay," she said. She was being so brave. Sarah pressed record. For the next 15 minutes, Emma and Sophie told their story. They described what David did to them, when he did it, how often it happened. They used simple words, but their meaning was clear. Their father had been sexually abusing them for years. After Sarah stopped recording, she hugged both girls. "You were so brave," she said. "I am so proud of you. Now I want you to do something for me. I want you to draw pictures." "Pictures of what?" Emma asked. "Pictures of anything you want," Sarah said. "But if you want to draw about the things your daddy does, that is okay too. Sometimes it is easier to show than to tell." Sarah gave the girls paper and crayons. She sat with them while they drew. She watched as Emma drew a picture of a man standing over a bed. A little girl was in the bed and she had tears on her face. Sophie drew a picture of a door with a lock. On one side was a girl who looked scared. On the other side was a big, dark figure. Sarah took pictures of the drawings with her phone. She now had photos of the bruises, recordings of the girls talking, and pictures they had drawn. She had everything she needed. That evening, Linda called to say she would be working overnight at the hospital again. Sarah felt panic rise in her chest. She would be alone in the house with David and the girls. She had to make sure the girls stayed safe. After dinner, David said to Sarah, "You can have the evening to yourself. Go to your room and relax. I will put the girls to bed tonight." Sarah felt her heart racing. This was what he did. He waited until he could be alone with them. "Actually, I promised the girls I would read them a bedtime story tonight," Sarah said, trying to sound casual. "We started a new book yesterday, and they want to know what happens next." David's smile faded a little. "I can read to them," he said. "Oh, I know you can," Sarah said quickly. "But we are right at an exciting part, and I promised." "Maybe tomorrow night?" David looked annoyed, but he nodded. "Fine, tomorrow then." Sarah took the girls upstairs. She read them 3 stories instead of 1. She was stalling, making it take as long as possible. When the girls finally fell asleep, Sarah did something she had never done before. She pushed a chair against each girl's door from the outside. Not blocking it completely, but enough that if someone tried to open the door, the chair would make noise and wake her up. Then Sarah went back to her spot in the hallway. She sat in the chair again, her phone in her hand. She had decided. Tomorrow morning, as soon as David left for work, she would call the police. She would tell them everything. She would show them the evidence. But tonight, she would stay awake. She would guard these children. She would make sure their father did not hurt them one more time. Sarah sat in that hallway all night, watching and waiting. Every time she heard a sound, her body tensed. But David never came upstairs. Maybe he knew she was watching. Maybe he suspected something. As the sun came up on a new day, Sarah knew everything was about to change. By tonight, the girls would be safe, or Sarah would have lost everything trying to protect them. Either way, she could not wait any longer. Today was the day she would fight for Emma and Sophie. Today was the day the truth would come out. Sarah heard David's car start in the driveway. She looked out the window and watched him drive away to work. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. As soon as his car disappeared down the street, Sarah pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking as she dialed 911. The phone rang once, twice, and then a woman's voice answered. 911, what is your emergency? Sarah took a deep breath. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am a nanny at 47 Maple Drive. I need to report child abuse. 2 children are being hurt by their father. I have evidence. Are the children in immediate danger right now? The operator asked. The father just left for work. The children are safe with me right now, but he will come back tonight. I am scared of what he might do if he finds out I know, Sarah said. Okay, stay calm. I am sending police officers to your location right now. Stay on the phone with me. Are the children with you? The operator asked. They are still sleeping upstairs, Sarah said. Good. Keep them close to you. The officers will be there in about 5 minutes. Can you tell me what kind of abuse you have witnessed? Sarah told the operator everything. About the bruises. About what the girls had said. About how terrified they were of their father. The operator listened and asked questions. She stayed on the phone with Sarah the whole time. True to her word, in 5 minutes, Sarah heard sirens outside. 2 police cars pulled up in front of the house. Sarah opened the door before they could knock. She did not want the noise to scare Emma and Sophie. 2 police officers came inside. One was a woman with kind eyes named Officer Rodriguez. The other was a tall man named Officer Chen. They asked Sarah to sit down and tell them everything from the beginning. Sarah showed them the pictures of the bruises on her phone. She played the voice recordings of the girls describing what their father did to them. She showed them the drawings the girls had made. She showed them her notebook where she had written down everything she had observed over the past weeks. Officer Rodriguez looked at everything carefully. Her face was serious. These are very serious allegations, she said. We need to talk to the children. But we have to do this the right way. We cannot just question them here. We need to take them to the Child Advocacy Center where trained specialists can interview them. Will they be safe there? Sarah asked. Yes, Officer Chen said. The center is designed specifically for situations like this. They have people who know how to talk to children about abuse, and the interviews are recorded so the children do not have to tell their story over and over again. Just then, Sarah heard footsteps on the stairs. Emma appeared in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. When she saw the police officers, she froze. What is happening? Emma asked. Her voice was scared. Are we in trouble? Sarah went to Emma and kneeled down in front of her. No, sweetie, you are not in trouble at all. These police officers are here to help. I told them about what your daddy has been doing to you and Sophie. They are here to make sure you are safe. Emma's eyes went wide. You told them? She whispered. But Daddy said bad things would happen if we told. Officer Rodriguez came over and kneeled down too. She had a gentle smile. Your daddy was wrong, she said softly. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. We are here to protect you. No one is going to hurt you anymore. Sophie came downstairs next. She saw the police and started to cry. Emma ran to her sister and hugged her. It is okay, Sophie, Emma said. Sarah told the police. She is trying to help us. Officer Rodriguez explained to the girls that they needed to go to a special place where someone would talk to them. It is not scary, she said. There are toys and books there, and the person who talks to you is very nice. She just wants to hear your story. Will Sarah come with us? Sophie asked. I can come with you to the center, Sarah said. I will not leave you alone. The officers called for backup and for someone from Child Protective Services to come to the house. Within an hour, a social worker named Mrs. Patterson arrived. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and a warm smile. Hello, Emma. Hello, Sophie, Mrs. Patterson said. My name is Mrs. Patterson, and I work for an organization that helps keep children safe. I am going to take you somewhere safe where we can talk about everything. Sarah can come too. Is that all right? The girls nodded. They were scared, but they trusted Sarah. If Sarah said it was okay, then maybe it was okay. Before they left, Officer Chen said, We need to secure the house as a potential crime scene, and we need to contact the children's mother. Does anyone have a number for Mrs. Henderson? Sarah gave them Linda's cell phone number. She felt bad for Linda. Linda was about to find out that her husband was a monster. Her whole life was about to fall apart. They all went to the Child Advocacy Center. It was a building that looked friendly on the outside, not like a police station at all. Inside, there were colorful paintings on the walls and toys in the waiting room. A nice woman named Dr. Martinez came out to meet them. She specialized in interviewing children who had been abused. "I am going to talk to Emma first, and then Sophie," Dr. Martinez said. "It is better to talk to each child separately. Sarah, you can wait here with whichever child is not being interviewed." Sarah sat with Sophie in the waiting room while Emma went with Dr. Martinez. Sophie held Sarah's hand tight. "Is Emma going to be okay?" she asked. "Yes, she is just going to talk to the doctor. The doctor is very nice. She just wants to hear about what happened so she can help you both," Sarah explained. After about 45 minutes, Emma came back out. Her eyes were red from crying, but she also looked relieved. Like a heavy weight had been lifted off her shoulders. "It is not so scary," Emma told Sophie. "She's really nice. She believed me." Then it was Sophie's turn. Sarah gave her an encouraging hug. "Just tell the truth," Sarah whispered. "That is all you have to do." While Sophie was being interviewed, Officer Rodriguez came to talk to Sarah. "We sent officers to Mr. Henderson's workplace. They are arresting him right now. He is being charged with multiple counts of child sexual abuse. We also contacted Mrs. Henderson. She is on her way here now." Sarah felt relief wash over her. David was being arrested. He could not hurt the girls anymore. But she also felt nervous about seeing Linda. Would Linda blame Sarah? Would she be angry? 20 minutes later, Linda burst through the doors of the center. Her face was pale and her eyes were wild with panic. "Where are my daughters?" she cried. "Where are Emma and Sophie?" Mrs. Patterson stood up and approached Linda calmly. "Mrs. Henderson, your daughters are safe. One of them is being interviewed right now. Please sit down. We need to talk to you." "Talk to me? I want to see my children," Linda said loudly. "I understand," Mrs. Patterson said, "and you will see them very soon. But first, you need to understand what has been happening in your home." Mrs. Patterson and Officer Rodriguez took Linda to a private room. Sarah could hear Linda's voice getting louder and more upset. She heard her crying. She heard her saying, "No, no, no," over and over. Sarah understood. Linda's world was crumbling. Everything she thought she knew about her husband and her family was a lie. It was a terrible thing to learn. When Sophie came out of her interview, both girls ran to Sarah and hugged her. "We told them everything," Emma said. "We told them all the things Daddy did." "You were so brave," Sarah said, hugging them both tight. "I am so proud of you." A few minutes later, Linda came out of the private room. Her face was red and swollen from crying. When she saw her daughters, she ran to them and dropped to her knees, pulling them into her arms. "I am so sorry," Linda sobbed. "I am so sorry. I did not know. I should have known. I should have protected you." Emma and Sophie cried too, holding on to their mother. Sarah stepped back to give them space. This was their moment together. Linda looked up at Sarah with tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for saving my daughters. Thank you for seeing what I was too blind to see." Sarah nodded, her own eyes wet with tears. The hardest part was over. The truth was out. Now the healing could begin. The next few weeks were hard for everyone. Emma and Sophie had to go through medical examinations to document the abuse. The doctors were gentle and kind, but it was still scary for the girls. They had to answer more questions from detectives. They had to tell their story again and again. But through it all, Sarah stayed by their side. Linda had to make some very difficult decisions. She filed for divorce from David immediately. She also filed for full custody of the girls. The court agreed that David should have no contact with his daughters. He was in jail, waiting for his trial. David's lawyer tried to fight the charges. He said the girls were lying. He said Sarah had made up the whole story. But the evidence was too strong. The bruises, the recordings, the drawings, the medical reports, everything pointed to the truth. David Henderson had been abusing his daughters for years. The trial took place 6 months later. It was held in a big courthouse downtown. Emma and Sophie did not have to go to the courtroom because their video interviews from the Child Advocacy Center were played for the jury instead. This was better for the girls. They did not have to see their father. They did not have to face him in person. Sarah did have to go to court, though. She had to testify about everything she had seen and heard. She had to show the pictures and play the recordings. She had to explain why she believed the girls were telling the truth. David sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. He looked different than he had looked at home. He was not wearing his expensive suits anymore. He looked smaller somehow, less powerful. When Sarah looked at him, she felt no fear. She only felt anger at what he had done to those innocent children. The jury listened to all the evidence. They heard from doctors who examined the girls. They heard from Dr. Martinez, who interviewed them. They heard from Officer Rodriguez, who investigated the case. And they heard from Sarah, who told them about the day she discovered the truth. After 3 days of trial, the jury went away to make their decision. Linda, Sarah, and Mrs. Patterson waited in the hallway outside the courtroom. Linda was shaking. She held Sarah's hand tight. "What if they do not believe us?" Linda whispered. "What if he goes free?" "They will believe us," Sarah said firmly. "The evidence is clear. The truth is clear." After 4 hours, the jury came back. Everyone went back into the courtroom. The judge asked the jury if they had reached a verdict. "Yes, Your Honor," the jury foreman said. He was an older man with glasses. "We find the defendant, David Henderson, guilty on all counts." Linda started crying. Sarah felt tears running down her own face, too. It was over. David would not hurt anyone else. He would not hurt Emma and Sophie ever again. The judge scheduled the sentencing for 2 weeks later. When that day came, David Henderson was sentenced to 25 years in prison. He would be an old man when he got out. Emma and Sophie would be grown women by then. They would be safe. After the sentencing, Linda took Emma and Sophie for ice cream. They sat in a little shop with colorful walls and happy music playing. The girls were smiling. Really smiling. Not the fake smiles they used to give. Real, genuine smiles. "How do you feel?" Linda asked her daughters. "Safe," Emma said. "I feel safe now." "Me too," Sophie agreed. She was eating chocolate ice cream and had some on her nose. She looked like a normal, happy 5-year-old girl. Not scared anymore. Linda looked at Sarah across the table. "I do not know how to thank you," she said. "You saved my daughters' lives." "You gave them their childhood back," Sarah smiled. "I just did what anyone should do. I protected children who needed help." "Not everyone would have done what you did," Linda said. Many people would have looked the other way. They would have convinced themselves they were wrong. They would have been too scared to act. But you were brave. You risked your job, your safety, everything. For my girls, Sarah looked at Emma and Sophie. They were laughing now, trying to see who could eat their ice cream faster. They looked so different from the frightened, silent girls she had met months ago. They had color in their cheeks. They had light in their eyes. They were healing. "They were worth the risk," Sarah said softly. Linda nodded, wiping tears from her eyes. "I will never forgive myself for not seeing it. I was so busy with work. I trusted him. I thought they were safe." "You did not know," Sarah said gently. "He was very good at hiding what he was doing. And abusers are good at making people trust them. This was not your fault. The only person responsible is him." Over the next year, Emma and Sophie went to therapy every week. They had a special therapist named Dr. Williams who worked with children who had been abused. Slowly, session by session, they started to heal. They learned that what happened to them was not their fault. They learned that their bodies belonged to them, and nobody had the right to touch them in ways that made them uncomfortable. Emma started to speak up more. She was not so quiet anymore. She made friends at school. She joined the soccer team. She laughed more. Sophie was still shy, but she was getting better, too. She loved to draw and paint. Her pictures were not dark anymore. They were full of bright colors, sunshine, and happy things. Linda reduced her hours at work. She wanted to be home with her daughters more. She wanted to make up for the time she had missed. She went to therapy, too, to deal with her guilt and pain. It was hard, but she was getting stronger. Sarah did not work as a nanny for the Henderson family anymore. Linda did not need a full-time nanny now that she was home more. But Sarah and the family stayed close. Sarah visited them often. Emma and Sophie would run to hug her whenever she came over. They called her their hero. But Sarah did not feel like a hero. She felt like she had simply done the right thing. She had seen children in danger and she had protected them. That was what any decent person should do. However, Sarah realized that many people did not know how to recognize the signs of child abuse. Many people did not know what to do if they suspected something was wrong. So Sarah decided to do something about it. She used her experience to create a training program for nannies, babysitters, teachers, and anyone who worked with children. She taught them the warning signs of abuse. She taught them how to talk to children who might be in danger. She taught them how to report abuse and who to call for help. Sarah started a non-profit organization called Safe Voices for Children. She traveled to schools and community centers, giving presentations. She trained hundreds of people every year. She wanted to make sure that other children like Emma and Sophie would be protected. She wanted other caregivers to know what to look for and how to act. Emma and Sophie grew up strong and resilient. They went to high school and made plans for college. Emma wanted to be a lawyer who helped children. Sophie wanted to be an art therapist. They wanted to use their pain to help others who had suffered like they had. On the 10-year anniversary of the day Sarah called the police, the whole family gathered together for dinner. Linda, Emma, Sophie, and Sarah sat around the table, eating and talking and laughing. Emma raised her glass of juice. "I want to make a toast," she said. She was 17 now, tall and confident. "To Sarah, the woman who saved our lives, the woman who taught us what real love and protection look like. We would not be here today without you." Sophie raised her glass, too. She was 15, with the same blonde curls she had as a little girl. "To Sarah," she echoed. "Our hero. Our friend, our family." Sarah felt tears in her eyes, but they were happy tears. She looked at these two amazing young women who had survived so much. They had not just survived. They had thrived. They were living proof that healing was possible, that children could overcome even the worst trauma with love, support, and justice. "To all of us," Sarah said, raising her own glass. "To courage, to truth, to healing, and to making sure every child in the world is safe and protected." They clinked their glasses together. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was a beautiful evening, a peaceful evening. And in that moment, sitting with the family she had helped to save, Sarah knew that her life had meaning. She had made a difference. She had changed lives, and she would keep fighting for children everywhere for as long as she lived. Because every child deserved to be safe. Every child deserved to be protected. Every child deserved to have someone who would believe them and fight for them. That was Sarah's promise, and she would keep it forever.